Football fans, Gooners of the world, this is Shotta, your host, together with my colleague and friend Blackburn George, the arse blogger. And as usual, it is my pleasure to present the audio version of our latest YouTube video by the Uncensored Arsenal. Was Arsenal the winner or loser in the transfer window? Before the audio rules, let me remind you how important it is to have an alternate point of view on YouTube instead of the same old by certain so-called Arsenal accounts. That is why we beseech you to like and subscribe to our channel. Stay tuned for more. Gooners! My usual introduction, I missed it. Football fans, this is Shotta together with Blackburn George. Blackburn George, give the audience a wave. I see a couple of great. George, we've been doing all kind of things to distinguish ourselves. People call us the toxic couple. We call ourselves the two old farts or whatever. But I suppose that's what most people think about us. But we have an opinion based on our years of experience. That's about it. That we want to share with the fans. And today's topic, George, was Arsenal a winner or loser in the transfer window? My apologies. Arsenal spent, thanks to NBC, by far more money than all the other clubs in the Premier League, $221 million when they totted up. Man United only spent $186 million. Tottenham spent 144.5. I didn't even know that they did all that business. Man City, 135 million. Chelsea.
Hang on.
Yes, sir.
All those. So they all outspent us.
No, 135. We spent $221 million. This is not pounds.
Oh, dollars, right?
Yes. I'm taking.
That's not good to me.
I know, but I didn't have a time. I didn't have the time to convert it, but right. I did the work. We spent 140 million pounds, George.
Right.
So you can do the conversion. I'm not as smart as you. I have my calculator beside me.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, but the bottom line is that we won the transfer sweepstakes after years of our fans complaining, all the big bloggers, all the big accounts on Twitter. How do you find winning and losing? Is this a victory? That is the big question. What is being a winner or loser in the transfer market? And that is what we want to discuss here today. Money-wise, we spent 140 million pounds or 221 million US dollars, far exceeding our rivals. Does that make us a winner?
Well, you look at the fans' reaction, and you'll see some fans. I know it's always extremes that you notice. You don't notice the ones in the middle. Mm-hmm. But look. Some of them will be saying it's a 2 out of 10 window, and others are saying it's an 8 out of 10 window.
Right.
So I think you have to look at what criteria you're judging the window on, and who you are that's doing the judging, and what did you expect. In many ways, we are the winners in this transfer window. In as much as.
Okay, go ahead.
For years, people have accused the club of not being willing to spend, and they've spent. So there's no denying that that's a change. Mm-hmm. And for a lot of people, that'll be a change for the better because we're spending more. On the other hand, I don't think we've improved our starting 11 in a single position. So you could say we're a loser. It depends where you look at. Are you looking long term? Long term, we've bought some good young players that are real prospects. In the short term, we haven't bought anybody who will come straight into the team and improve us. On the face of it, that's how it appears. I could be wrong. They could end up all playing on the first game back and play well. I can't see that myself. So what I'm saying is there's a balance somewhere. Depending on how you want to look at it, we're either winners or losers, but the reality is we're somewhere in the middle. But we've done some stuff right. We've definitely spent money. Spending money in the current climate, the way football is run, is essential. And we've done that. And people said Cronkies wouldn't do it. They have done it. So that's a sea change, and that's a win as far as the club's long-term prospects are under this ownership. Because if they continue doing what they've shown themselves willing to do, which is spend a lot of money, eventually we'll get a good manager, players will come to that we've bought will come through, and we'll get it right. Not every player will come through, not every transfer will work, but it doesn't work for everybody. And you always look at your own club saying, oh, what about him? He didn't work. And you forget that every other club has players like that they've spent a lot of money on and it's not worked. So we'll just have to wait and see long term how good this transfer window is. Because don't forget, you go back 2 years, 3 years, and people were saying it was the best transfer window we'd had in a decade. Every time, best transfer window in a decade. When we bought Torreira and all that crew, the first
party, then the party transfer.
And Pepe.
Party Gabriel, Pepe. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Every time, it's a great window, some were saying, and it turned out actually it was a waste of money window. So we'll have to wait and see. We can't condemn it right now, and we can't really praise it right now either. We just have to wait and see how it plays out over the months and years to come. And I mean years to come, because of the profile of the players we've bought, it's a years and years investment. It's not George, days and weeks.
We have a very good metric, George, of what makes a good transfer window. What the activity we did this year reminds me of the activity Chelsea did last year under Lampard. They brought in Havertz. They brought in the other guy from Germany. They spent a lot of money last year. What's the fellow that plays the just off the striker? The two of them names come to mind. And the point I'm making is that Lampard couldn't make them better. He brought them down to 8th or 10th. Liverpool used to spend this kind of money or in the order, and they decided, you know what, let's spend on Klopp. Manchester City spends a lot of money, and they said, no, and let me get Pep. Do we have the right manager to take these players forward?
No. Well, I think no. You're leading me up the garden path here.
No, we want to be objective here.
You know very well, I think we've not got the right manager, but we've got this manager. We're going to have to put up with that until things either improve or don't improve. And if he improves and there's a marked improvement, he'll get to continue. If we go the way we're going and get to the end of the season with no points and no goals scored, he'll be gone. So, no, I don't think he is the right manager. But I think the club's committed to buying this profile of player. Now, where you can have an argument is it him that's committed to this type of profile of player or the club? If it's the club driving this profile player, young with potential, then Arteta could lose his job anytime because that's the club's philosophy. They don't need him to bring it into action. If it's his philosophy if he was driving it, then his job's more secure because then they do need him to bring through the players he's bought for that particular philosophy. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, well, I understand that. And we never know, George. I mean, the club PR machine, and every club PR machine tells you, well, we brought in the players that the manager wanted. And every time we are told, these are the players Arteta wanted. But I'm not, and I'm not altogether sure because...
That's right. Because we don't know. That's my point. If those players are bought because it's his philosophy, his job's more secure than if they were bought because it's the club's philosophy. But on the downside of that, if it's the club's philosophy, Edu's job's more safe than Arteta.
Yes, one wonders. George, at the end of the day,
somebody will pay the price.
Oh, ultimately, I mean, I can't see this continuing. Although I think that our ownership and our management is very questionable because I can't see you spending all this money the past couple of years. You come all the way 8th, and there's no material change. In fact, you continue to do much more of the same.
Or get worse.
Don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Somebody's going to pay the price. They'll need a scapegoat. It's not going to be Josh. He's not going to throw his son under the bus.
Yes, Stan is not going to do that.
So it could be Vinay, it could be Edu, or it could be Arteta, or a combination of all three, or all three. Who knows? But somebody's going to pay the price if there isn't an upturn, and a good upturn, and fairly rapidly as well.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see.
Yeah. Well, if it was Abramovich, we know that you probably get until December, and that is it.
Of course, but if Abramovich's son was running Chelsea,
yes,
it wouldn't be his son that went through the door.
Exactly. George. So that's 140 million pounds that the Cronkies chucked in. But you know who won this round? Definitely, George. The agents. The selling agents won the lottery here because the club's gonna have to pay them, according to Ehab, who works in this industry, anywhere between 10 to 12% agent fees for bringing these players in. And so people need to calculate that at least 14 million pounds will be added on top of this because the agent fees are not paid out of the transfer funds. They come from elsewhere. They come from the club itself. And Ehab was telling me that Mendes probably with this Ronaldo transfer probably made 15 million pounds over the summer. I don't know what Kia did. I mean, he had to get rid of, he had to move on Willian, his client. And then they try to tell us that he's gone for free. You want to tell me that you think Kia is going to leave 20 million pounds on the table to send a guy to Brazil? It doesn't make any sense to me.
No, it doesn't make any sense to anybody who's seen how he's conducted his business for a decade. Don't forget, the club PR machine told us the same thing about Ozil. He was going to go to Fenerbahce and he was going to take a 90% reduction in his wages. We were going to get him off the books. And turns out, when the accounts came out, we had to pay him £18 million to leave. So it was absolute bollocks. Now, I'm saying that I can't believe that he's walking away. He might not get all the 20 million, but he's not walking away for nothing. And but we won't know until much further down the line. And they won't want to tell us because it's such bad PR. But it's bad PR either way, because if you think about it, let's say he has walked away from £20 million.
We should be a fool.
Yeah, he'd be fool. But let's say he's some sort of hero that has put the good of the club before that's let him down for 12 months, in his opinion. and he's walked away and said, "Oh, I'll forget that £20 million." Let's say he's done that for a moment. Mad as it sounds. How bad a club is it that someone is prepared to pay £20 million to get out? Because that's what he's done. He's given up £20 million just to get out of Arsenal Football Club.
Well,
how bad a reflection on us is that?
Well,
if you give him the credit that people want to give him.
Well, first of all, I don't believe that he walked away from £20 million.
No.
His agent is not going to allow that. George, people see these players standing up and signing. They never see that the stack of papers that they have to do is like this 2-3 inches high with riders and all kind of clauses. They don't. The poor player never reviews it. This is his agent and his attorney. I don't believe it, but it will come out eventually. But talking about a bad PR, bad conduct, George, this transfer window, and they've revealed the nasty side of Arteta's management. Not only did he waste money on Willian that he swore up and down would be a great player and would get into the Champions League in 2 years, don't forget, and then had to get rid of him. But look at the conduct towards Maitland-Niles. They've patched it up by this so-called clear the air meeting. But this was horrible. Then Bellerin was determined to get out. They couldn't move Kolasinac. Poor old Cedric, he's no longer, they just take him out of the public eye. George, it's farcical. Don't you think? Am I being extremist?
A little bit.
I've learned a little bit from you. Yeah, tell me.
But if you look at each individual case, I mean, nobody could have foreseen that William was going to be such a failure. But I mean, if you can't get Mesut Ozil in your team, what chance has William? You know, Ozil was so much superior in every way. So we know he's made. I'm not going to defend Arteta's management at all. It's just that's pissing into the room.
George, but I want you to talk about some of what emerged publicly. Because a lot of what goes on is just all kept quiet and is all PR. What emerged publicly doesn't look good on the club. And my thoughts. Your thoughts.
Well, we know that Ainsley Maitland-Niles wanted to leave. He released an Instagram post. I mean, he was desperate to leave. We know Kolasinac wants to leave. He wants to go to Turkey.
That bit of Fenner.
Yeah. So
to be with his pal Mesut.
Yeah, and who would blame him? You know, they want to play. Eddie couldn't come to personal terms, but you don't know whether that's the case or not. You're told one thing or another.
Yes.
So he's staying, but he'll be out of contract at the end of the year, by the way, Eddie.
Yes,
he can walk for free. Lacazette's staying. He can walk for free at the end of the year.
By the way, George. That is good news that Lacazette is staying, because I don't know what the hell they were doing to try to ship him out. I mean, this experiment.
Yeah, they were trying to sell him, though. They weren't trying to get rid of him.
Yes.
They wanted to sell him because he's only got 12 months on his contract. So I can understand that. If he's not going to renew, this is an expensive 12 months for us, because we're going to pay him his wages and lose whatever transfer value that we could have got from him this time. So I don't, that in itself, he's a good player and we need him.
Yes.
But we need £20 million as well. So you can't condemn them for that, I don't think.
But where are we going to get?
We're going to lose him anyway. We're going to lose him now for free. We're going to lose Eddie for free. It's just, but what can you do if they decide that they're not going and they're not going to renew the contract? I'm not going to turn around and blame Mikel Arteta for that, because that's modern football. This is the problem that I have as well, that people want to blame Arteta for things that are beyond his control. You can't blame him for players wanting to leave on a free at the end of the contract. Just like you couldn't blame Emery and you shouldn't have been blaming Arsene Wenger. But if fans have got someone in their sights, they will blame them. And if fans want to back Arteta, they will blame Edu for not being able to get rid of these players, get them off the books, and them running the contracts down. It's not his fault either. It's probably your agent's fault more than anybody.
Well,
they're the ones that all of a sudden realise, wow. Real Madrid have bid approximately £200 million for Mbappe, who has 12 months left on his deal.
Yes.
PSG have turned it down because PSG don't need £200 million. They wouldn't even notice if it wasn't in the pocket. You know, that's how much money they have. Yeah. They've literally got fucking trillions. But he's going to walk away for free and he's going to walk into Real Madrid.
Yeah.
Now, they won't have to pay a transfer fee, but what they will have to do is give him a stupendous amount of money. I wouldn't be surprised to see if he's not on £1 million a week when he goes
and a signing on fee.
And a signing on fee, which and the agent, you see that
the agent is going to buy a new yacht, a new mansion, and
absolutely.
Then a lot of money in the bank.
I read earlier this week that the agent of Haaland,
yes,
wanted £40 million for him to get a deal through to get Haaland out of.
And there's a lot of clubs who want him.
40 million for him. And that wasn't the end of it. He's not the only one. His cousin or something is his agent, who's another agent. He wants some. Mm-hmm. You know, there was it was up to like 50, 60 million pounds just for agent fees. Now they know they can get that.
Yes.
That's the problem. They know they can get it now. And like I say, Mbappe's it's his dad, I think, that's his agent. I mean, he's going to think, wow, we'll get him out of here for free. And it's just going to be a windfall. It's going to be like £200 million windfall to us because that value, his value is going to be paid from somewhere to somebody, even if he's free. He's not coming free. You know, we know how. We saw Kolasinac, when we signed him, he was a free transfer.
Right.
But his wages were twice what they would have been if we'd had to buy him.
Right.
And then you end up with him that you can't sell him because he's on twice the wage.
Right.
He was a free transfer.
Right.
He was in the Player of the Year team in Germany for the year before we got him.
Right.
So it's easy to look in hindsight. Willian, he was a terrible deal. I mean, £200,000 a week is ridiculous.
Well,
but he was free.
Yes.
So you have to knock that off. So I don't know. It's easy for us to be critical, but it's not easy to run £1 billion football club, even if you're good at it. And Edu and Arteta are not.
Well, that I think is fairly well established. Because George, the other part is that we have been able to sell more than one player. We sold Willock for £25 million, and a young fella by the name of Aniel Ogeyoke, and I know he was sold. I think it was for £2 or £4 million, some figure like this. But I went on Transfer Market and I looked at, just trying to do some research on that before I came on this program. His name doesn't even show up. So it tells you that as far as those publications are concerned, his transfer is relatively insignificant. But last year we only sold Martinez. The selling style of the club, George. I mean, let me not go on an excess here. But moving players has been horrible. I mean, the concern I have is that we have done a very bad job of. We have run down the value of our players. You have said this before. I mean, Kolasinac, for instance,
Can you just pause this for a minute, Shotta?
Yeah. Well, I'll talk while you're doing
okay.
I can't. This is live, and guys. Yeah. While George is away, guys, Kolasinac. Let me focus on me only because George had to step out. Kolasinac is a wing back who used to play very much up in the final third together with Montreal, and our management suddenly just didn't have any use for him. And then we had the joke of him playing left center back when he's never ever played in that role. Then you're trying to sell him, and he for a whole year you froze him out, you put him on loan. How can you sell him at this rate? You've just totally destroyed the value of the player. George, did you hear all of that?
No, I didn't. My next door neighbor came to tell me her husband had died. So,
George, that's not such good news. I was saying how we run down the value of Kolasinac. He was. He's a wing back. He's a wing back by trade. He used to be playing further up from Montreal, who obviously had plans to make him a central defender. And then we just shunned him away. We just sent him on loan because he was Ozil's pal, it seems. And then we want to turn around and sell him and play him in a terrible position in the last game as a left center back. He has never been like that. And then we want to sell him. This is the kind of thing, is a prime example of you running down the value of a player. There are others like that. You may want to comment on it.
Yeah. I tweeted the other day that, in future, economic students will study the devaluation in the Arsenal squad under Arteta, like we studied the South Sea bubble at school.
Right. Or the tulip mania in dollars.
Yeah, it's been horrendous. So I think we've spoken about this before on the podcast, how that we had valuable players who ended up worth absolutely nothing due to Arteta's total mismanagement of them. You should go at Ozil, Guendouzi, Kolasinac, Mustafi. Jesus. It goes on.
Right. Well, Emery's responsible because, Mustafi is one of these aggressive centre backs and we want to play him deep. I mean, you know what I mean, George? He has to have somebody behind him clearing up. But no, we want him to be playing deep. It's our the most craziest. And I'm just an amateur for 2,000 miles away. Only because I've been watching this game for a few years, I feel that I have something to say. But I'm an amateur. And I was like, come on. The guy was on a World Cup winning team. And we just ran his value down to nothing.
Yeah, well, look at thinking. William Saliba.
Yes,
he's in the team of the week in France most weeks. Everybody reads about him. Guendouzi in the team of the week in France.
And we can't use him.
and we can't, not only do we not use him, we can't fucking give him away. Because somebody will get him for nothing. It's a nightmare, really. The squad value isn't anything like the reflection of how much it's cost us.
Oh,
and, so Aubameyang,
he's valuable.
You see it on Twitter, you have to laugh at. Manchester is just what Manchester City want. Really?
Oh, Barcelona. They're saying that Barcelona wants him.
Yeah, of course they do. They're queuing up to get him. Jesus.
Yeah. But we're
going to kill him because Barcelona and City were fighting over him.
You don't like me going back to the past, but Henry was losing a step the last year that he was here, and we sold him. How much was it for?
About 15 million, I think.
15 million pounds to Barcelona. They got 2 years out of him. I mean,
Yeah, we probably have kept him if he wanted to stay, though, to be fair.
Yeah.
He wanted out, didn't he? But we still got decent money for him. Van Persie, people complained about selling United the league
for
that
£30
year.
million.
But that was a lot of money in those days for a 29-year-old player with 1 year left on his contract. That was
29-year-old injury-prone player.
And with that money, we bought Giroud and Santi Cazorla. So, we were doing well in those days. We were fleecing people right, left, and centre. Not Arteta. Arsene Wenger is selling Adebayor for ridiculous money to Manchester.
30-something million pounds, George.
Alex Song.
Yeah. For 14 million pounds to Barcelona. And then they found that he was useless because he was not a DM. He couldn't play DM to save his life.
No, a lot of them could only play in the system that Arsene Wenger made for them. Right. But we used to do well at the point where we're not doing well now, are we? I mean, Alex, who sold Alex Iwobi?
For 24 million pounds.
Yeah, but who sold him? How long ago was it?
2 years ago. Emery. As soon as Emery walked in the door, one year after Emery, because he played in the European League final. Yeah, he scored the last goal. He scored his last goal for Arsenal in that.
We sold him for good money, and Arsene Wenger fleeced Liverpool for Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain.
Oh God, we got 20 million pounds for him.
As a parting gift, he added 30 million pounds to the coffers. And I think he's played about 3 games, hasn't he, Chamberlain?
Oh, well, not as bad. No, it's talking about extremes.
Klopp's improved him.
Yeah. But, George, let's kind of wrap this up. From a managerial point of view, did Arteta come out a winner or a loser?
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how they play. Like I say, it's impossible to judge unless you know who's driving this model.
But it is his team now, isn't it? It is his team now, isn't it, or not?
Oh, absolutely, it's his team. Every one of them. There's nobody left at the club other than maybe Lacazette that's here because they couldn't have gone at some point in the last 18 months or they haven't been brought in since Arsene Wenger left. So, I mean, they're complaining about Granit Xhaka, who's probably, despite his flaws, probably the best player we have.
By the way, George, the record shows that when he's out, we have lost 7 games and drawn 2. That's a record of Arsenal without Xhaka since he's been here. Now,
how many games is that in? How many games has he missed?
9 games. I don't know how many games, but we have lost 7 and drawn 2. For all those people who are saying, "Oh, we won't miss him,"
we won one without him, though. I remember that. We won up at Old Trafford without him.
Probably, I don't know. That figure.
So, it's not like saying we lost 7 and drew 2. It depends how many we've played without him. If that's 9 out of 10, then it's a very worrying.
I'm going to ask
if it's 9 out of 20, it's not as worrying. So we'd have to know how many games he's actually missed.
George, you think he's been out for 20 games? I mean, and he's been suspended.
No, he's not missed a game, has he?
No, that's my point. My source, who happens to be a member of the team, will have to give me all that data. George, are the Cronkies the winner or loser in this?
Again, we'll have to wait and see. They might have bought some good assets. I mean, we might be looking 2 years down the line. Some of these players might be worth 2 or 3 times what we paid for them. Alternatively, 2 or 3 years down the line, we might be sending them on loan to Huddersfield.
And finally, George, where's Arsenal stand? Is it a better team or a worse team? The winner or the loser after the transfer window?
I don't think it's any different. Don't think it's any different. Probably a little bit more depth with players that are liable to play. But I don't think the best 11 is very much different at all. I mean, honestly, Ben White is the big splash out transfer, isn't he?
Oh, let me remember something that I never. The Tomisayu guy is supposed to be coming on the right back, but he's more like a central defender. That from what I saw, but in other words, you're getting somebody to help Ben White, George. Jesus.
Well, yeah. I mean, my point is, I don't think Ben White is as good as David Luiz.
No, he's not. Not yet.
Not yet. So even the 50 million we spent on him isn't an upgrade. It might be long term, and he might be more able to play more games. We'll see, but he's not actually an upgrade class wise. So no, we spent 140 million, and the first team is no better, and we still don't know where we're going. But we just have to accept that it is a long-term plan. Whose plan it is, we don't know. We'll see. But it's 2 or 3 years minimum.
Well, George, that's a problem. It's 2 or 3 years, and where will we be in the tables? We'll talk about that.
We'll be bottom half this year. That's my.
So, a lot. You have these people who have been saying, "Oh, you will need to change the profile of the team." Certain big tweeters and bloggers and football experts. Yeah, we need to get younger, but we will be mid-table and probably lower. Can you deal with that? Are you aware of what you're proposing? The whole thing. When they speak, George, yeah, that's why I don't even listen to them. Because all they were doing is trying to justify turning over totally the team that was left by Arsene Wenger, and then say, "Oh, well, we turn it over and we are going to be successful." It is ridiculous.
Yeah, because they were so committed to saying it was a bad team. It was a great team.
Yeah.
But they were so committed to getting Arsene out and blaming and saying the team was a bad team. Looking back now, you think, wow, all of those players were better than we have now. All of them. But anyway, that's gone.
That's gone, George, and I don't want to dwell on that. So, George, we're going to talk about this, and we're going to on Friday with Ehab and hopefully Biso when our weekly show. So I just call the audience. We're going to wrap this up right now. Remember to like and subscribe all together now, George. Like and subscribe. You haven't said a word to the channel. We are gaining slowly but surely. We have been taking the piss on ourselves, but it gets people's attention, and we have been subscribing. Thank you guys for supporting us. It's not easy. We are late to the party, and and we probably have a point of view that many people don't support, because we're not going with the nonsense that have been said.
Yeah, come on, people, like and subscribe. Even if you don't like it, even if you don't like me, even if it gives you an opportunity in the comment section to tell me.
Yes. Tell Josh.
Tell us how bad we are.
Right.
Just get involved.
Well, I thank the guy who said we are the toxic couple. I love that one.
Like those two old farts on the balcony in the Muppets.
Yeah, right. I always think of us as the two grumpy old men. Thank you, guys. You have enough of this. All right,
bye, everybody.
Friday.
See you next week.
Yeah, no Friday. Don't forget.
Friday.
We're a Friday date. Remember, we're a couple. Bye, George. Thank you.
See you later.
All righty. This concludes another edition of the Positively Uncensored Arsenal podcast. Show your appreciation of our podcast by subscribing and clicking the like button wherever you listen. This really helps in growing our support among honest and biased fans who recognize that Wenger's legacy is fundamental. Free-flowing attacking football by a club with integrity and class. Thanks for listening.